2019 was the year I didn't graduate from college, and what had been my bedroom since the age of 10 had now become living in my parents' basement. It wasn't the well-heated home that most might expect from basements. In the winter, I'd often see my breath in the light of my monitor.
Okay, so it's cold.
Nothing a game and coffee couldn't fix, and being employed as a contractor's helper didn't hurt either. While I did miss the camaraderie in college, I still had my cute and committed girlfriend to see, as well as my best friend of 10 years to hang with whenever we wanted to unwind with some virtual skateboarding. Life was significantly lonelier than the one I had in college, but life was still good. And then March rolled around, you might say, like a steamroller, flattening the financial stability of many, and just as incrementally. 2 weeks became 1 month. That month became 2 months. And for the entirety of April and May, I had no reason to get ready for work. For those 2 months, I found myself stuck in front of my computer screen. That's all I remember of those months. I know there was some XCOM and maybe a little burn notice, but most of all, I remember the dread I'd feel when I went to bed. I thought the world was ending. Before this, I was never even acquainted with depression. I've always had high self-esteem, possibly to my detriment, as it was the kind of inner confidence that would often push people away. Not because everybody else couldn't handle me or something, but more so because the type of friendship I chose to adjust to doesn't work as well in already established friend groups. Simply stated, I thought I was a better friend in doses. My ego was, and to a great extent still is, too big for some people. And that's okay. A big ego fulfilled is better than a humble one unfulfilled, and the great friends that I did make nearly 300 miles from home left my cup overflowing with laughter, clarity, and joy. But now I'm home. And it's not really home. Instead of falling asleep among my peers, I stayed awake, drenched in loneliness. It got to the point where I prayed to God that He would send my soul back to my younger self a la Quantum Leap, just so I could do it over, be with friends again, finish my final project, get myself a blue checkmark verification of a stupid-ass art degree. Thankfully, God said no. Although, after 2 months of literal darkness and isolation, my mind dipped into conjuring future scenarios of terror. The kind that would cover what happens when a giant ball of heat leaves you feeling hopeless, helpless to save the ones you love. Needless to say, it was harder to do a Mission Impossible marathon with my cute and committed girlfriend by the time we got to Ghost Protocol, given the context of that movie's conflict. Now, fortunately, I never entertained the idea of taking my own life. Instead, I feared some other unfathomable thing would take it away instead. The malt liquors didn't help either, but that was my own doing. Then again, my access to alcohol was considered by the government to be essential, whereas access to hot food and contractors who will fix your exterior walls were not, but I digress. Most evenings I consumed singlets of 7%ers or higher just to lift my spirits, to get back to the feeling I had of being the crazy dude that my dorm floor adored. I thought by drinking my current self down, I'd find the old self that I loved and who was loved more. But at the end of the IPA, I was still me. Instead of self-discovery, I merely conducted a cover-up. I didn't find myself at the bottom of the can. Nobody can. That's what the lockdowns did to me. Not the disease, the lockdowns. Let's give blame where blame is due. The only thing the lockdowns helped me with personally is understanding what the homeless guy wearing the end is near sandwich board was going through. When you don't have people, it feels like the end of the world. Homeless people are by and large just that, homeless. Not houseless, as some jaded old comedian might call them, but homeless. They don't have homes.
And the sad part of it is because no one was looking for them.
They don't have their people, their communities to fall back on when times get tough. That's why we need each other. The lockdowns made us stay in our houses and made many of us feel homeless. A society of spiders, ordered to stop making webs. But gratefully, my best friend of 10 years pulled through. At the end of May, my buddy invited me to his lakeside cabin for a weekend. That's where I received some of the best therapy a man could ask for. Boats, beers, and buddies. A darkness had lifted off of me, and I finally understood King of the Hill. The simplicity of being with friends. The purity of basic connection. Then, about 2 weeks later, I was notified of a beloved RPG that was re-released for PC, to overwhelmingly positive reviews. On June 13th, 2020, Persona 4 Golden dropped on Steam 4 years ago today. My only knowledge of Persona was glimpses of Persona 5, so I thought 4 would also be about costume vigilante high schoolers doing secret shadowy stuff. I was only half right, as Persona 4 forgoes the flair that made Persona 5 so popular. But we still got high schoolers, secrets, and shadows. Little did I know how much the game was going to help me. Except I didn't get the game then and there. It took about a few weeks for me to buy it and then a few more weeks to consider even playing it. But when I finally did, I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, at first I was taken aback about the head-to-body ratios of the in-game characters compared to the anime cutscenes, but that's that acquired taste older games have. You get used to it. Also, I accidentally named my character lowercase I Takahashi, or Takahashi E, and I thought that 30 minutes was too much time to backtrack from, so I just stuck with this stupid name for the whole playthrough.
Takahashi.
Anyway, I found it strange that it took about 3 hours of my evening before I got to an actual battle. The thing I thought was the main game, right? I mean, again, I was half right. Of course, there will be battles to endure, as all of us will come to know, but the battles are not the point of Persona. It's the persons. Every boss fight is the result of a person who needs saving, a person who tried to hide their darker tendencies and emotions by denying them. And every time the characters we come to save deny their suppressed selves, the shadow takes over. The part they don't want anyone to see becomes too strong for the real self to defeat on their own. They each need outside help. They all need their people. Victory isn't achieved by defeating the boss. It's achieved when the person you came to save accepts who they are and embraces their embarrassments as part of them. The rest of the game is a social simulator. Build friendships, eat steak, go to the beach, take a bath, touch grass. This is all for the purpose of solving the mystery and lifting the fog. Clarity can be found in loved ones, and without these relationships in the game, the player will have a much harder time being triumphant. The emphasis is building bonds so that your inner strength will increase so you can accomplish what must be done. Being able to play something like this at this time was soothing relief for my soul. The gameplay loop of save a friend and do whatever was, for whatever reason, really comforting. I began to imagine what it'd be like to live in small-town Japan, which was probably the sign that I needed to go outside. Still, I'm glad it was Persona 4 that I played first and not 5, because the emphasized context of 4 was simply to prevent murders. The purest of motivations that does not require arbitrary story moments to convince the player that their highly questionable extracurricular activity, i.e., forcing a more noticeably awful person to feel bad and confess their crimes, is somehow completely justified. You know, guys, I don't know if we should do this. This is like immoral? Yeah, I don't know. This does seem a bit overkill. Wait, she just jumped off the roof. Get him. Get his ass.
Asterius Picaro!
Strike. Attack. Purr. Dude, someone is killing people. Yeah, we should stop that. Persona 4 Golden re-released in the midst of the lockdowns. It's as if they knew that people needed outlets for socialization and figured it was the perfect time to re-release to the broadest gamer audience on PC. And even though the game didn't cure me of isolation or fix all my mental problems, Persona 4 nonetheless was there when I needed something like it. It didn't even have to be a Persona game that helped me. But what was there for me was there for me. If God had answered my prayer to let me relive and redo 2019 and onward, I would have missed out on what was right around the corner. 10 days after I first started the game, I married my cute and committed girlfriend. Since then, my social despair had rescinded and I was no longer lonely. Everything I missed about college faded. And today, 4 years later, we're about ready to introduce a new person into the world. But then again, that's redundant, at least the phrasing, since the world is not and never was the mere planet Earth. The world has always been people. And since you are people, the simplest way to better the world is by bettering yourself. And that's easier to do when you're with other people. But if you truly don't have any close relationships, then maybe it's time to reconvene with the one who made relationship possible to begin with. People might suck most of the time, but friendship is worth the burns and scrapes that may follow. Someone to help you see what you don't see. Whether it's a good quality that ought to bloom or a bad habit that ought to be pruned. The simple presence of someone who encourages you or keeps you accountable is sometimes all the help you need. The power of friendship is real, you guys, magical even, and I wish it upon every single one of you. Did someone say friendship is magic? Oh, no, please. I just know you've been dying to talk about it. No, it's still not that time. Not today. Go away. You can't ignore me forever. Why deny it? I'm you. That was 12 years ago. I've changed. You don't change. You just become more of who you are. Doesn't change the fact that you're not me anymore. You're not me! Not only did this famous artist plagiarize literally all of his works from the pupils he's abusing, he also killed your mom!